Welcome to the Law Shit You Should Know podcast. We're here to talk a little bit about the law
and a whole lot about nothing. Every week, we have a new guest to discuss current events, legal drama, and dive even deeper into
the Law Shit You Should Know. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Law Shit You Should Know with Elina
and Leslie Marenko
and the amazing Juliana Lamardo today.
That would be me.
Also known as Juju.
I can sing Juju on that beat.
Juju on the beat. Is that a real song?
It is a real song.
Okay, go.
From where?
Go sing it.
It goes.
It's required that you sing
Juju on that beat. Juju on that beat. Juju on that. Juju on that. Juju on that beat. It sure does.
Is that really all it says?
What year was this song? Was this before our time?
No, it was a few years ago. It's not that old.
It's not that old?
I will find it. And I will send it.
Okay,
maybe in the intro.
Pause Juju on that beat right now.
Yes, we're going to put it. Yeah, we're going to put it.
Okay, pause for the sound.
Juju on that, Juju on that, Juju on that beat.
Okay. All right. Anyways, Juju, tell everybody what you do.
I am an immigration attorney, but specifically I deal with a lot of Cuban cases, Cubans with criminal issues, Cubans.
Yeah, but other people too with criminal issues. Not
Yes.
Are you trying to say that
Well,
Cubans have
no.
more criminal issues?
The thing is that with the Cubans,
I asked her what
they
she
stay
did,
here, right?
Let her talk. Let her talk.
They stay here. So then
Oh,
years
they have
down the
ongoing criminal
road,
issues.
something comes up. The law changes. You can fix their removal orders or their deportation orders and make them residents again. So that's why I deal with a lot of
I think
Cubans.
this is as a non-immigration lawyer, right? I don't think we ever understand that the Cubans could have a deportation order.
Before we keep going, can Juju finish telling people what she does for a living?
So there's different kinds of immigration lawyers. There's the immigration lawyer that does court work and the immigration lawyer that does paperwork, right? Not to be confused with notarios. Not to be confused with the paralegals that think they're attorneys.
Okay.
So I do a lot of court work. I do a lot of defense work. I do a lot of criminal waivers. I do a lot of Cuban cases.
So the Cubans can actually be deported, is what you're telling me.
Well, everyone can be deported.
Okay, so there's a difference.
To where?
No.
Are we sending them back to commies?
Okay,
So
wait.
there's a difference. You can have an order of deportation, right? And be
Which means
deported, quote unquote, right? Like if you come in front of me and I'm the judge and I say, sorry, I'm going to deport you.
I order you deported.
I order you deported.
I mean, does that mean
So
I
you
get to
have-
walk out of the courthouse? No.
Pretty much.
Yes, yeah.
Most
I
people
think
do.
The biggest confusion people have about this is that when we tell people, so-and-so was deported, that sometimes that means physically deported.
That's what I would assume.
And
you're
that's what
talking
everybody
about.
assumes.
Like,
But
they
that's
got
not how it
put
works.
on a fucking plane.
No.
No.
Like,
There's a difference. The judge can order you deported, right? And most immigration lawyers will be like, oh, but were you physically deported? So there's two different things. You've been ordered deported because I gave you a piece of paper that says
You lost.
you didn't win your case for XYZ reason, right? And then there's the physical act of being deported. So Cubans, some Cubans are physically deported. Now, going back, some people of other nationalities that get the order of deportation or removal, and then if you don't appeal, if you don't do anything else, you get physically deported.
Right. So one thing is the order that you get in paper, right? You lost your case. You do generally get
And what does that paper say?
You can appeal.
That paper says you got to leave the country in X amount of time?
30 days.
30 days.
Or within those 30 days, you can appeal. If you appeal, then they have to create a transcript. So at that point, they'd hand it over to
they
their
create it for you.
internal court reporter. But that's only if you appeal. If you don't appeal, all you're going to get is that tape, my friend. And that's if you order the tape, because you don't get it for free. Like,
Yeah. Well, no, and
Nothing
now
is free.
so it takes you a while to read all these transcripts, right? And then you have to figure out, did the other attorney do a good job?
Mm-hmm.
Which opens up a can of worms.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020 too.
It is.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to make that decision.
But trash. Okay, got it.
No, you have to make the decision as a lawyer. Like, do I go after the other lawyer too on appeal?
Oh, because is that something? Got it. Is that? Well, yeah. I guess like in criminal stuff, particularly the ineffective assistance of counsel.
Absolutely,
Right?
we have that
So,
too.
yeah.
Immigration can get very complicated very fast, and I think people don't realize that when they either decide to take on an immigration case Por la familia, por el
I think-
amigo.
Let's talk about that. I think we have a lot of dabblers in our practice area, what I like to call dabblers, which are
There are.
people who don't really know what they're doing and they think this is easy and it's just a form and anybody can fill out a form. And
Here's how I explain it to people, right? There's yes and no questions on the form. If you answer no, I have never been arrested, and the answer is yes, I have been arrested, because even an ICE arrest counts,
Yeah.
right? You're now lying on an application which you swear to the truth and contents of the application under perjury. Now,
Yes.
if you answer yes and the answer is no, you're better standing, because then you'd be like, well, I wasn't really arrested physically,
right.
blah blah blah.
I wasn't sure I marked yes.
Right, I marked yes. Then you're oversharing with immigration, which is fine to overshare.
Interesting.
They
Because
can-
my normal, default setting
let's
is
clarify
don't
what
say
I
shit.
mean
Like,
in those yes
that
no
you don't need to say.
questions.
I'm with you. but-
Oversharing with immigration could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Depends.
Not
It
incredible.
depends.
So everything depends. Go to somebody that you trust. Go to somebody that has a good reputation.
Okay, so do not go to somebody whose website does bankruptcy, foreclosure, divorces, and a little bit of immigration sprinkled in fucking between, because te van
and
a joder.
criminal law. Yes.
And criminal te van a
Yeah,
joder.
because
Probably.
then it becomes harder for the fourth
That's the
attorney
most
coming
PC
in.
fucking, like,
We have those
probably.
problems too. It's easier if you go correct the first way around,
Uh-huh.
right? Great, you lose, no problem. Appeal, you lose, you appeal, and you just keep going.
No problem.
Listen, it ain't over until the alien wins. The non-citizen, I should
The
say. But
alien, what? Oh, the person.
yes.
Yeah, all of our legal text is written with the word alien as
Sure.
the identifying person. It's not the
Sure,
word
sure.
we like to use, but it's actually the word the government uses.
Well,
Yeah,
what do you
but
mean it's
now
not
they're
over till
supposed to-
they win or get deported. What's
Well,
the other side of that?
Until you are not
Or you
physically
appeal.
deported.
You're not it ain't
There's
until-
still another shot.
it
there's
ain't
still
over
another
till the
shot.
Fat lady sings.
Okay,
That's
so
not-
I
even
will
after you
start
have
singing.
the order of deportation, can you find love, Juju?
Yes.
Yes!
we
You
want
are-
everyone to find
We
love.
want-
Love knows no
Don't
borders.
take my line. That's my tagline. You can have
I was giving you a shout out.
Obviously looking dead at you. when
I
she
was
said
giving
that.
That
you
is
a
my
shout
tagline.
out.
Love knows no borders.
So,
Okay.
until you're physically
But only
present.
love with a citizen or a resident.
Claro, obvio. Don't go falling in love with.
or one that beats you, and
You
then,
know,
Or one that beats you.
Well,
Wow.
well.
That is true. That is true.
hey.
Wait,
what
wait.
you're referring to
I was
is
going
We
to-
gotta
vow
explain. We gotta explain what we're
petition.
talking
Okay,
about. No, we
so
gotta explain. We
if
gotta
you
explain.
get abused by a resident or a citizen spouse, you file what's called the Violence Against Women Act. It's also for men, but it's something that gives you a benefit in the United States. Do people abuse it? Absolutely. Just like everything else, there's a huge amount of immigration abuse. That's one of them, but it's out there. But if you also get beat, you call the cops and then you file a U visa for victims of criminal offenses,
Including domestic violence.
including domestic
Yeah,
violence,
so-
battery, strangulation. I love criminal stuff.
I think what the point is that there are protections in place for victims of crimes.
Yes.
And specifically with the VAWA rules, there is some abuse going on, but not abuse that way. I mean, like abuse of the
No
VAWA,
pun intended.
Abuse
No pun
of
intended.
the actual application.
of the actual application process.
and people like to like
I mean, but I'm assuming
Like,
you
people
gotta
are
have
like,
some evidence for this,
is
guys.
your husband checking your text messages? VAWA. Like, okay. That,
No, but
like,
I'm
we're
saying,
going a bit far, but-
like I always think of the standard. Like
With
if
my
everybody
poor
and their
husband.
grandmother is filing VAWA petitions, and I assume the standard on the other end of who's reviewing these petitions goes, no, bitch, that's not abuse. Like the fact that he blocked you
Oh,
on
yes.
Instagram, not abuse. Like
there,
whatever.
there are people reviewing
Right?
these things. However, it takes an extreme amount of time.
it does.
It is
does.
taking like 3 or 4 years.
3 to 4 years. for
Ah,
processing.
but that's a matter
But
of
while it's
time.
processing, you're here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Now, to be
right.
real, abuse is not just physical abuse, right? Abuse
Emotional.
can very much be emotional and psychological abuse. No. There are a lot of people.
So what are you screenshotting the nasty text messages
Sure.
at 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah, why
Like,
not?
listen,
Yeah,
bitch,
that's what
I'm
I
going to
mean.
have you deported.
Oh wow!
Like, that is abuse.
That is
Put that
actual
right,
that
people.
is actual
That is
abuse.
Put that in writing.
Now,
I mean,
your rice came out shitty is not abuse.
right.
Your rice
You
came
can't
out
cook.
shitty.
You're
No,
a
no,
horrible
That might
cook.
be a true
But
statement.
listen, not to
Like-
get
In
real,
my
but
book,
if you
yes.
stop and think about the power that a citizen or a resident has over someone to be like, I'm not going to file your paperwork. I'm not going to let you get status unless you behave or unless you do what I say or unless you act the way I want you to act. Like, that's a very powerful position to have over someone, their immigration status.
I think it's also important that you look at this distinction, right? Physically deported versus not physically deported. Because if you are in a position now where you have an approved VAWA, but you have that order of deportation, right now is the time to do it, to get your case reopened and things like that.
Whoa. You have an order of deportation, so you're supposed to get the fuck out within whatever days.
Yeah.
And now you filed your VAWA?
No, well, okay, pause. Let's say you didn't do it. Let's say you didn't get the fuck out.
Correct.
You said,
we're still driving around Miami, no
Kelly,
license.
No, here's the order of removal.
No.
Kelly, no. Okay, see you next year. Bye. You know? Technically, the government isn't going to, for the most part, isn't going to come get you at your house to physically deport you. I mean, that is possible, but not likely considering the hundreds of thousands of immigrants we have that are out of status and deported. So unless you commit a crime or somehow bring yourself to the attention of the government later on.
So go hide.
It's hard.
Stay under the radar.
Pórtate bien is basically what you should be doing.
You to go hide. But the point is that if you do hide, it's unlikely the government will come after you.
Well, let's talk about the list. Nobody in the DMV reads the list.
No, they don't know shit.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed to say.
I think we're
nobody
trying
in the DMV list.
Driver's licenses, but
No.
not to immigration problems.
No, but that's a huge problem in immigration.
It is. It's the number one
Because
way airplanes get
that
detained.
they get stopped without a license because they
Correct.
couldn't get
That's
one.
why we brought
Yes.
Dale, full circle.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Traffic violence.
Now-
because people think that immigrants have all these criminal issues, blah, blah, blah. Number one way is traffic offenses. And I think DUI, which is serious, but DUI are actually the third on the list. The second is drug offenses. I looked this up recently. Drug offenses.
Why are you talking bad about my clients?
Why are you talking bad about my clients?
We want to
I
talk
love
about cocaine
drug-
cowboys? We can talk about cocaine cowboys.
Oh my God, I love the cocaine cowboys.
We can talk cocaine cowboys all day.
No, I want to talk
hold on.
about
Before
marijuana.
we talk about cocaine.
Can I
Okay,
say
fine.
marijuana?
We can talk about marijuana. Okay, marijuana.
I did say marijuana.
Yes.
Am I okay to say
Marijuana is one of my
marijuana?
favorite topics.
What needs to be said about
I love
marijuana?
Marijuana is a great
Do not
immigration
plead
topic.
guilty. No, what needs to be said? I have
No,
idea.
as a matter of fact,
Guilty?
Florida marijuana
Mhm.
has had a huge change in the law
Yes.
Really?
versus federal law.
Yes.
March 2022? March 24?
Is that it?
March 24,
I
2022.
did not know this.
Without looking it
I
up.
thought Biden said, "Fuck it, everybody do what you want." I'm not
No,
gonna prosecute
no.
you.
You when it comes to
No?
immigration,
Oh.
you have to look at the state statute versus the federal statute, right?
Okay.
And
Before you get to Florida, can I clarify something for us? Because we do have people who listen that are not in Florida. So let me pause you for a second, if you don't mind.
no,
She thinks
oh.
that this podcast is going, worldwide,
Listen,
baby.
I want-
Worldwide.
we are going
That's why
worldwide.
we're Mr. Worldwide. No, for real. Let's talk for real. So under immigration law to date, in marijuana, the use, the trafficking, the selling, the distribution, all of that possession is all illegal under federal statute. So even if you live in a state where it's lawful,
Yeah.
okay, like totally
Right.
lawful. And in
Colorado.
Florida, right. In Florida, recreational marijuana is not lawful yet, right? But let's say Colorado or Oregon, where everything is a free-for-all, right? Anybody can use it. It's still illegal under federal law. So we have clients, if you go work at a dispensary, for example, lawful job in a lawful state, and you're working at a dispensary and you are not a citizen of the United States, you are
No.
anything but a citizen, you are now trafficking illegal drugs.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like we said
You got a
earlier.
legal jobbity job.
And you can be
In
deported.
Colorado.
You can be deported for that shit.
Yes.
Not just deported. It's one of the 7 deadly sins with no waiver and nothing we could do about it.
But I thought, wait. So how does this play into Biden getting elected and going, we're not going to prosecute this bullshit anymore?
Right. So what's happened?
Whatever.
Let me pause you. They are still prosecuting it. The problem is that's on a federal level. However, obviously the prosecution of marijuana offenses has declined as things have gotten legalized. And in some states it hasn't been legalized, like Florida, but it's been decriminalized. Where like in Miami-Dade County where we live, it's a ticket. Like getting caught with like a blunt or whatever, something small quantity, is a $50 ticket.
Have I been arrested?
No.
Do I click on the box? Is this a
Now,
citation?
wait. The big problem is that this isn't a problem anymore for the reasons she was about to explain. So I stopped her. But before she keeps going, before this happened and changed, it was a huge issue. The decriminalization, in my opinion, was even worse than the legalization because what was happening is it's still a crime. It's only a $50 ticket. And so people would be like, $50. And they'd pay the ticket. And they didn't realize that paying a $50 ticket, you've now admitted to the use of a federally listed drug that makes you a deportable offense. Huge issues over a $50 ticket in Miami-Dade County.
We still love marijuana though.
Yeah.
So can I pay the ticket?
No.
and not
If
get deported.
you yourself as a
You're-
citizen,
are you
I'm
sure.
saying
You're
me,
good to
the
go.
immigrant.
No.
Leslie, the
Well,
immigrant.
No.
let's talk about that.
No.
Let's talk about
No.
that.
Don't pay that ticket. No
Do
pagues
not-
ese ticket.
no
pague
ese
ese
ticket.
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 Llama a Alexandra. No.
We gotta give Alexandra a shout out because we just
No,
stole his
but yeah,
tagline.
we
So,
definitely
like-
did. Don't sue me. Don't sue me, Alexandra, please.
We gave him a shout out.
No pague ese ticket.
But we gave him a
It was
shout out.
Positive shout out for the record.
Yes.
Okay, so tell her why it's different. in
Okay.
Florida now.
So marijuana in the state of Florida is described as XYZ. In the federal,
Whatever.
oil,
This is-
plants,
The
seeds,
scientific
the
definition.
stem,
Whatever the fucking science.
I don't know
The
nearly
smell,
enough about this shit.
you know.
The leaves,
But,
the
yeah.
whatever,
So the federal,
the seeds.
The gummy.
no.
No,
No?
she's
So
talking about the plant.
I'm
What is
talking
a
about
marijuana plant?
actual marijuana.
Okay. I mean, but nobody's walking around with a plant, no?
You're growing
Well,
it.
you're growing plants.
Okay, but then you have a
You're-
real operation going on.
Okay,
Right.
stop. What she's trying to say is the part that is illegal is the plant. And the plant has a scientific definition written into the law.
Okay.
And that scientific definition includes all parts of the plant that include the leaves, the stem, the seeds.
Todo, pero
The
fucking todo.
oil, yes.
Correct. Okay.
In the
fine.
state of
The
Florida,
chemical that comes out of the plant.
Yes.
I'm sure it's in the fucking definition.
It is in the-
Everything.
yes.
Everything.
So- but in the federal statute, there's a few things missing.
Right.
What?
Let's say, for example, we'll keep it very, very simple. The stem of the leaf.
That's not actually.
It's
but
not
she's
actually
giving
what
you
it
an
says, but
example,
I'm giving
right?
you the example.
Okay.
So when it comes to immigration, client, Cuban, deported, not physically, comes to me and says, oye, me deportaron y estoy aquí,
But estoy aquí. Yeah.
pero era residente y me la sacaron. Something like that. They
Yes.
took away my residency because I was growing plants in the state of Florida.
Without the
So
stem.
then-
Okay.
Or
My-
a grow house.
I had a grow house. So
That's
Bro.
very popular
But
in Miami.
listen,
There's lots of grow houses.
this has been argued since like 2010.
Yes.
This has been in arguments and arguments and arguments and arguments. Finally, we're at a point where if you come to me and says, I'm Cuban, I was a resident at one point,
But I'm still here.
I'm still here, but I had
El papelito
all
dice I
these
shouldn't be.
marijuana
Right.
convictions in 893.13, 35, blah, 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 right? 135.
Uh-huh.
893.135, I say, perfecto. Let's try to reopen this baby. And then you do a motion to reopen based
The
on
criminal case.
No, the immigration
No,
case.
The immigration case.
You're still gonna have a conviction for the state.
Okay.
Unless the state of Florida
Changes the
says
definition.
marijuana is no longer an offense which we are going to be punishing folks over.
Okay.
Super quick question. Have you tried this for somebody that's abroad coming in?
I haven't actually.
I
never had a
haven't
consular
either.
case yet. But the point is that in this decision that she mentioned last year, 2022 decision, essentially was the first fine after we've been arguing this. I say we as the immigration bar has
Yeah,
been arguing this for so many years. After I think like 12 years or so arguing this, finally the Board of Immigration Appeals, which is our appellate board, finally agreed and said, "Great,
No, it wasn't
marijuana
even
in the
the-
federal definition
It
isn't."
was 11th Circuit.
Well, I'm sorry, you're right. 11th Circuit above the Board of Immigration Appeals. And so in the 11th Circuit, we joke that the line is marijuana is no longer marijuana. Because our marijuana is not their marijuana. And so now we have a free-for-all.
So
Federally,
it
and
has
so we're in
so
good shape.
marijuana has to equal the
Wow.
federal and it doesn't. So anybody with a marijuana conviction, no longer deportable,
That's right.
no longer inadmissible. If you're still here, motion
You gotta reopen your
deport.
case.
You
So
reopen the
if anyone
case.
is listening,
If you smoke,
This is a huge market.
it's a huge market.
it is a huge market.
Yeah, it's been a
The
hot
plants.
topic for about a year now.
Yeah.
But because the word marijuana is still quote unquote not something you can say, right? Like you can't just go on Facebook and say marijuana folks
Were you
call me.
convicted of a marijuana
Right,
offense?
you can't say that because you get blocked on Facebook.
Really? You can't do a bunch of tickety
That's
talk
marketing.
videos on this?
I don't think
No, it's
so.
still very controlled. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did a great newsletter on it though and got some feedback. There are ways to get it out there, but a lot of people don't know.
It's
at the
super
conclusion
word of
is lots
mouth.
People don't know this. So until you listen to something like this, you know, you really have no idea that this has happened. And it's a huge,
Interesting.
huge thing. So a lot, what I have had is a lot of, not just Cubans, but a lot of other cases of people who trafficked a good amount of marijuana. And we've been reopening those cases very successfully. So
Okay.
the fascinating thing about immigration law, I think for better or for worse, it's something I love about this practice and it's something I hate about this practice, is that it changes every goddamn day. Like our lives are constant revolving doors of law. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Like sometimes it's like there's some presidential decree and there's a new fucking TPS, or there's, I don't know, anything. It could be anything. Some policy change. Sometimes it's the case. Bless you.
Thank you.
It could be anything. Like our lives change on a daily basis. Like there was a federal lawsuit against DACA. There was an injunction by some court in Texas, and all of DACA is on hold until there's another decision. And then tomorrow there'll be amazing news and everything will be reopened. And our lives are a mad rush to file or a mad rush to freeze.
Isn't it funny though that all the important things come out always during your conference?
Always, yeah, that's true. It does
I don't know. Yeah.
When is this conference?
February.
In February?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's fun. So every year we get slapped with something different.
Yeah.
It also changes with the administration. It changes.
Sure,
it just,
we're at the whim
listen,
of politics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you think someone who takes 3 immigration cases a year dabbling can keep up with this shit, all I have to say is immigration
Good
practitioners
luck.
can barely keep up with this shit. Like, we can barely keep up, and we just
And
like,
it's
every
funny because
goddamn
sometimes
day. Like,
we hear things from clients and they're like, oh, but so and so said this. And you're like, am I going crazy? Did I miss the news?
I mean, do you actually pay attention when they go to the I saw on the tickety talk.
we have to do
Of
that.
course I do.
I
Of course you
I'm
do.
like,
We
no,
have-
no,
of course
the
you do.
tickety talk is not law, bro.
Yeah, but
Like-
here's the thing.
Like,
There's a ton of people on TikTok that read the news. And if it comes out in the news, then you have to be
you're
ready
like,
to
it
talk
came
to.
out at 8:00 this morning,
Half
and you're
the
now hearing
time-
about it on tickety
Half
talk.
the time
Yes.
we find
She
out about
said-
something.
Yes.
Half the time we find out about something when
I mean-
CNN blasted on the TV for everyone else.
At
Like,
11:39 at night.
11:30 p.m. on a
When I'm
Saturday,
sleeping.
you know, like
When I'm sleeping.
When
she
I'm
says.
sleeping, man, then I wake up and like literally like
Yeah.
you're in-
Don't lie. We know
No,
you're
no.
partying till the wee
It was
hours.
9 o'clock at
There
night
is
when
no
I was
like
sleeping.
organized structure in our lives when it comes to the distribution of new policies and new whatever. It's like it's pretty crazy.
So if you imagine a law that changes every 4 years, where you have to change like not the motto of your business, but how you handle your cases changes every 4 years.
Strategy
With
changes
every single
constantly.
president, it changes. You know, during
It's a
Obama,
fucking
we had a
shit
good
show.
8 years of just okay, we're gonna just be at peace for 8 years.
Yes and no, right?
I was like, what?
Because
No,
he
well-
did some decisions that were like, whoa.
So Obama, I think we should address this. There were more people deported under the Obama administration than ever before and ever since. Actually, I don't think Biden's administration or Trump's did a better job, did they?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But my defense to that always is exactly what I just explained, which is I think the Obama administration did a good job of figuring out who should be at the top of that deportation list versus who shouldn't. And I'm not saying every decision was fair, but they at least tried to organize the system. Because if there's one thing Juju can agree with me on,
This system is a hot. It's
The
the hot
current.
mess express.
The current hot mess
Immigration
express.
has always been a hot mess, but in my opinion, the problem is they don't know how to fix it. But they're also not listening to the people that have told them how to fix it. Because there's ways to fix the immigration system. It might not be the best, but if they would come down a notch and just talk to people that do this every single day, they can fix it. And, you know, when you look at immigration, it's fixable to a certain extent,
the
right?
immigration system is so overburdened in our country.
Yes.
I mean,
I have hearings in 2027.
I got
now.
my first one for 2027. We already have scheduled hearings in 2027. I have 2, I think, already in 2027.
Yeah, man,
which
this is ridiculous.
You know, we're for anyone listening. I know this is going on in 2024, but we're filming at the end of 2023, so we're talking about 3
years.
before you even get 4 years, before you even get a hearing.
So everything that we do rides on whoever is president.
Pretty much.
And then, you know, you deal with the federal laws for immigration, and then you deal with state laws from whatever state you live in. Like in ours, like our clients are dead scared of leaving Florida, coming back into Florida.
now
which
with
becomes,
SB 1718,
Absolutely.
which we haven't talked too much about, but in Florida we have SB 1718, and we're not the first state to have something like 1718, where it's now criminalized to transport immigrants across unlawful aliens across the border of Florida to other states. Now, that in theory sounds fantastic. Like, who's for trafficking? Nobody is for trafficking, right? Like, people read this law like, yay, anti-trafficking. Yeah, we're anti-trafficking
Yes,
too,
yes.
right? Like, no one wants
We are
to be
not for
we
human
don't want
trafficking
people
on this podcast.
trafficked, you know? But that is a very shady way of calling this, because if I live on the border of Florida and Georgia And, you know, if you've ever crossed the state line, there's not like a fucking border that you cross. There's no border
There's
crossing.
no checkpoints.
There's
Like,
no
hi,
checkpoint.
welcome
Like,
to Georgia.
You drive and there's a cute sign, welcome to the Peaches State, you know, like whatever.
I think there is actually a sign though.
that says welcome to Georgia. Like, that's
Right,
not fucking
but then
says.
it doesn't-
say, like...
Wait, where did you go on vacation that you had one foot in one place and the foot in the other place?
No, that was in Quito. I was in the center of the world at the
Okay.
0 longitude line.
She
Maybe
can
I'm
traffic
thinking of a
people there.
movie.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
You can't be in two places
I'm
at
kidding,
the
I'm
same
kidding.
time.
I'm kidding.
The movie with Mandy Moore and the Stars.
I don't know.
That she literally puts one foot in one state and one foot in another state, and it's literally right down the middle. She's like, I am in two places at the same
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
so
some
you could
movie.
do that. I'm
I
sure.
digress.
The point is that this is not like a border checkpoint. And so if you live, let's say you happen to live right in the border between Florida and Georgia, like just that's where you live, right? Near Jacksonville, let's say, which is where that happens the most. And your Publix or your Winn-Dixie or your Walmart or whatever fucking store you're going to that day, depending on where you are, is 3 blocks that way. And 3 blocks that way happens to be Georgia.
Yes.
You are now transporting, let's say, your mom to there, and your mom's out of status. You have now trafficked aliens unlawfully in the country across that border, and are now have criminal penalties that can be imposed, not just on her, but on you for criminally trafficking her to the Publix across the street. Okay? It is absurd. Absolutely
Get your
absurd.
driver's license.
It is absolutely
This is
absurd
way
to
beyond
me.
get your driver's license.
It's crazy. Another really interesting point is they have put some really severe criminal sanctions on employers employing people who are out of status.
The I-9.
The I-9 sanctions and all that. And so what's happened is that you've had, and if anyone's seen the news, it's been all over, all the agricultural and construction markets in Central Florida, especially, that have no employees because they've all left. Like, the fear is real. And
And this affects everything. It affects
affects
the food
everything.
we eat.
Mhm.
It affects produce. It affects jobs, obviously.
so there was a really interesting Pew Research study that found that there are actually 7 industries in the state of Florida that Florida would have a complete economic collapse if we actually got rid of all undocumented workers. 7 industries, and those included the agricultural market. That included
No
the
more
construction
orange juice
market.
for you people.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
Florida, no orange juice.
No Florida, no orange
We have
juice.
a problem.
No sugar cane.
Strawberries, etc. The
Not peaches,
construction
though.
market.
That's Georgia.
You gotta traffic people to get those peaches, baby.
real.
Apparently.
The construction market, the tourism industry, the hospitality industry, the waste management industry.
Dios mío.
So, like, good luck flushing your toilet and hoping it goes somewhere. No, I mean, I know.
That's definitely shit you should know.
No, for real. There are 7 in total. I don't even remember all of them. Those are the 4 I remember because they really stuck out to me. But the transportation industry was another.
Listen.
So what is the extent, and I don't know, this is sounding more and more like a constitutional issue to me. Like,
Sure.
to what extent is the state of Florida allowed to start passing all these fucking immigration related laws?
Well, because they didn't write it as an immigration related.
But that was the purpose.
Yeah.
That was.
But the way they wrote it is what got them around
put-
that.
An undocumented immigrant in the car that I don't have a license to drive, and I drive them across to fucking get some peaches in
You committed
Georgia.
like 5 crimes.
And I am definitely going to jail, obviously,
100%.
like in this scenario. But like, I'm trafficking
Yes,
someone.
you are.
This is fucking wild.
It's
like,
fucking
that
wild.
just
You're
doesn't.
absolutely right.
That is just no.
It is, and you are.
It is and you
that's
are.
what-
It
no,
is and you
who
are.
is suing
No,
the
wait.
fuck
Okay,
out of Ron DeSantis
so that's what I was about to say.
to get
Hold
some
on.
fucking logical like.
Yes. So we do have our first test cases. There hadn't been any yet. Nobody had been batshit crazy enough to start enforcing these laws. Specifically, I'm talking about the trafficking one. But we do have our first 3 test cases. Juju was just telling me off.
I read online somebody searching for an attorney that handles this kind of case, and the attorney basically said, "I know this is all new, but I need somebody to
Yeah.
defend this person."
But there are 3. I know for sure. Before that, she told me off before we started the podcast. But I know
Off the
of at
record.
least 3 that are being litigated already, and that's exactly the kind of constitutional arguments that they are making. It's basically stopping the free flow of people across, like stopping commerce.
Listen, it
stopping
just
all kinds of
sucks in
stuff.
general. It just sucks
It's
in
just
general
absurd.
because you live in Florida and you're undocumented, you're living in fear. You want to come to Florida, you're in fear. You want to leave Florida, you're in fear. And it's not good for what Elina was saying, like the other
Not just
industries.
for commerce.
Right. It's just not good in general. because you're gonna get
Well,
stuck
and like
with.
I said, complete economic decline. If we actually got rid of all of our undocumented workers, it would be a complete. That is a statistical fact. It's not like there are so many people who work here undocumented that keep so many of our industries functioning. And we can talk all day whether that's right or wrong and how to fix it. But the truth is, it just is what it is. So saying, "Oh, we just don't want you here," it's just not a solution because we would
no more
complete
orange juice.
decline. like you would
No
have
more
no
sugar
houses or food. like, it's
Right.
just absurd. Our hotel industry would plummet. Like, good luck. It's absurd. Okay, so we've been talking about the SB 1718 way too much. I want to switch to the other really big hot topic: parole. Cubans.
And you two must explain what the fuck that means.
Okay.
Okay.
Because to me, you're on parole. I watch Law and Order. I know what that means.
Nothing.
Oh
my God. Dun, dun, dun.
Like, so what the hell is Cuban
Okay.
parole?
It's not a Cuban parole.
It's just parole.
Why
It's
am I
just-
always hearing about Cuban parole?
It's
Because of remember what we said in the
Your
beginning.
drug dealer clients.
Stop it. Remember what we said in the beginning, the wet foot, dry foot?
Yes.
Okay. You want to do it?
No.
All right. Wet foot, dry foot was specifically for Cubans.
Who put in wet foot dry foot?
Who put it in?
Oh, man,
That's
who
a
the fuck
great
Okay, who
question.
cares?
Listen,
Fucking know.
all I know is that
Harder? I don't even
Like
know.
fucking
Like,
Kennedy or
listen,
some
way
shit.
before
All right,
we
moving
were
on.
born.
Moving
Like,
on.
moving on.
the Cuban Adjustment Act itself, right?
This sounds like an After the Bay of Pigs shit show. Kind
It
of
was
law.
1966. I wasn't born then.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
For
actually-
clarification.
For clarification, I was not born then.
All right.
I have no idea who put it in. I have no idea. All I know
It
is
doesn't
that
matter.
at certain point after 1966, because the Cuban Adjustment says if you've been admitted or paroled, that's where the words come from. Then if you're Cuban, you have a year and a day, you're good, you're here. Perfect. You get residency if you apply.
This is you apply for residency
Under the Cuban Adjustment.
under the Cuban Adjustment Act, which
But
is a special law that was put in place after the revolution to aid the Cubans that were fleeing communism.
In
and socialism.
1966.
In 1966.
Okay.
Which is still in place.
Which that one's still in place.
Now let's talk wet foot, dry foot.
No.
Explain that.
Wet foot, dry foot means exactly what it sounds like. If your foot is wet and you're still in the water,
This bitch said if
you
your foot is
don't
wet-
get paroled.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay, but if your foot could be wet on the land.
No.
No,
what
but
they
if you
mean
mean-
is
Yes.
If you're still on
you
wet,
made it, bro.
if
you
you
made
made
it to
it,
Key West.
that
Got
means
it.
that you're dry.
Yes.
If you put your foot on dry land, that means that ICE, when they came to get you, or CBP,
Could not throw you back in the ocean. I
could
got
not
it.
throw you
I
back in
got
the
it.
ocean, and they would give you a document that said you have been paroled. Basically, they gave you una
That's what the
tarjetita
word parole
blanca,
means.
Correct.
right?
You
little,
made it. You're okay.
a little white
Go on.
card that says parole under Section 212D5.
Of the Cuban Adjustment Act.
No,
Absolutely
212D5 is under the INA, the Immigration Nationality Act, and all it says is you've been paroled for humanitarian reasons.
Basically,
Which, when this was created, if
Qué
you think of the
lindo.
historical moment in time, all the Cubans were fleeing. Picture like the balseros, right, coming on their rafts. If your raft made it to land, you got paroled.
Look how we're all swimming.
You got paroled. This reminds me of like you remember the opening scene in Scarface where all the boats are like flooding onto Miami, That's kind of what it was. And so if you made it to land, ICE would parole you in under this section of law and say, like, here's your piece of paper, you get to stay. And in a year and a day, you could take advantage of the Cuban Adjustment Act, which was a separate law that said you can apply for a green card because you've been paroled
So
here
the
and
Cuban
you've been here
Adjustment
for a
gives you
year.
my green card after I've been
Correct.
dry for a year.
A year and a
Yeah.
day. Correct.
except,
That's how
you know,
those two things go together.
I
there
like
you go.
it.
So the parole, the statute itself, just means you've been given a document that allows you to come into the United States.
Lawful.
Lawfully.
So your entry was lawful.
Your entry was
Because I've learned
lawful.
being her friend, that matters.
That does matter.
Okay.
That
All right.
matters 110%.
Okay.
Right? What's happening currently after the wet foot, dry foot came is that the Cubans would come and they would be deemed entering without inspection. Right?
Which means they weren't being paroled.
They weren't
This is
being
all
paroled.
under the Trump administration post. So one of Obama's last standing acts is he ends the wet foot, dry foot policy.
He's like, peace, bitches.
He's like, peace, bitches. And then Trump comes into power, for lack of a better term, the next day, right? Or whatever the fuck.
Yes.
The next week, because it was literally the last week Obama was president. And obviously he doesn't make it any fucking better. And so essentially ICE is given directives internally to stop paroling people
Yeah.
generally.
Don't give them la tarjetita blanca.
Right, but the law hasn't stopped. that the law of
The Cuban
212D5
And
or
the 212D5.
the Cuban adjustment has not been abrogated?
Repealed. Yeah.
Whatever.
There's no the law is still there. You can still parole people, and you can still adjust under Cuban adjustment of the year and a day. None of the laws have been changed. All that have been changed are the policies on how ICE processes these people, because that's what the presidency and the administration can direct. They can't change congressional law, but they can change how ICE is processing.
But if you don't give me my tarjetita blanca,
You
what
don't
am I
qualify.
supposed to do?
That's where we come in with
Hence
the problem.
the problem.
Hence the
Now I'm
problem.
just in limbo for real?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to go either the asylum route.
Right.
As a Cuban?
Yes,
Sure.
ma'am.
I've been doing a lot of Cuban asylum cases the last 8 years. of
Yes,
my life.
ma'am.
A lot of them.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
do tons of them.
And then what happens is you have an insane amount of people here overburdening our system, which easily can be solved if you grant parole to all these people, right? So there's a lot of issues that come out of it.
Sure.
Why is it a hot topic right now is because there's attorneys arguing certain specifics of the law, right? Immigration has more laws than any of us know, right? There's laws that are embedded into laws. It's just a lot to keep up with, like we were saying earlier. Immigration judges, you have several different kinds. You have the immigration judge that goes out on a limb and says, F
Yes
this,
or no.
I'm going to do what I do.
Parole is parole.
And you can appeal
Or
me.
parole's not parole.
Right?
Not parole.
Up
The
to
other
my
one-
ass. Like,
The other ones that say, you know what? No.
I'm an
Until
employee.
somebody tells me
I'm an employee of
that my no is
DOJ.
wrong. Right? And then the ones that go like this, they'll sit back and they'll be like, bueno, you guys can
Not for
file
me
it all
to decide.
out.
Not for me to decide.
I have a hearing date in 2028 available. And we'll figure it out then.
Yeah,
and I might kick it
So-
off my calendar until another year.
There'll be an appellate decision before 2027.
Yeah, but there hasn't been anything that good that has come out
Well,
in
no,
our
there was-
favor.
Meanwhile, these Cubans are in limbo.
Well, so a new decision came out very recently.
That is no bueno
It is
for
a terrible
us.
decision for Cubans, basically saying parole is not parole. They're not legally
Beige is
equivalent.
not white.
Correct. Beige is not white. That's correct. And so it's been a negative decision, but there was, it's messy. The decision is very badly worded. There's still some context in there to make some arguments. And this is only the Board of Immigration Appeals. And it's not a final decision because it was actually a remand for a new decision to the lower court. So we can't even appeal it and see what happens in circuit court. Like eventually Supreme Court, nothing. So this is getting remanded for a new decision at the lower level. And then there'll be a whole host of appellate stuff that happens again. So now we're in a negative space with this, which is why it's such a hot topic, because this negative decision.
But in another way, when you do it affirmatively with USCIS, some people are getting parole in the mail,
So I'm getting approved.
which makes no sense to
Yeah.
anybody.
So USCIS is
You
a
get a
separate.
tarjetita in the mail?
Hold on.
Yep.
USCIS, which is U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, is a separate entity from EOIR and the Executive Office of Immigration Review. EOIR is the defensive court side. USCIS is the affirmative, what people think of
Benefits
as
side.
benefits side, immigration, where you file for citizenship and things like that. Right? Before all of this happened with the appellate courts, USCIS had taken the position, not officially, but they seem to be taking the position that parole is parole is parole. Okay.
So apply after a year and a day.
So they started approving them. They started approving them. And then all these judges came out and some agreed and some didn't. And then there was a settlement that was made with USCIS at some point too. And so now sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. And the best advice we give clients is like, fucking try.
Try.
Because if you get denied,
Why not?
All you've lost is time and money and energy. That's
Right.
it. Like there's nothing else to lose. You're in the same position you were when you started if you
Right.
get denied.
No harm.
No harm, no foul. And in the meantime, everything is a hot mess and there'll be more decisions and it'll take
But
another
they get their
fucking 5 to
permiso de
10 years.
trabajo,
But they'll get a permiso de trabajo, you know,
Which
they'll
is
get
what
the
they
work permit
like.
and everything
Which
else.
is
and a
what they
driver's
like.
license.
If this story isn't the epitome of what has happened with Cubans in the last 8 years and what our practice is like every fucking day, I don't know what to tell you. This is just Cubans. We can have this conversation about every part of immigration law. Let's talk DACA, where we can talk about federal injunctions and how that shit changes every other fucking day about who applies and who can't apply and who can renew and who can't renew and where you send it and who you send it to and
Oh, that changes every day.
Oh,
Where
I mean-
you send documents changes every single day. So if you don't check 5 minutes before clicking yes to USPS,
you might be sending it to the
you
wrong
might be
place.
sending it to the wrong place,
You never
and then it
fucking
gets
know.
rejected.
Yeah,
It's
but
awesome.
So this is, I think, one perfect case example, like
Yeah.
Cubans and parole, of what the fucking shit we deal with every day. Frankly, like
Now,
this
if
is my
you
life
are
every day.
paroled
Like-
and you're not Cuban, find yourself a honey.
Because there's no adjustment act.
Because there's no Cuban adjustment.
Right.
But you got a parole.
Right. But
so
you
you have
got-
a lawful entry.
But you can adjust.
Same
So
as you
you're in
enter.
limbo forever?
Same
No,
as,
you can adjust. You can adjust.
Same as if you enter with like a tourist visa and you overstay. Like go find yourself love. We're back to the love conversation, which is why love knows no borders and you gotta find love in the US.
Ooh,
But love is
hashtag
a difficult thing, guys. I don't know.
Love's not that hard.
love is not that hard
Love's so hard for
when
me.
love is not that hard.
Love is all you need.
Oh no.
I didn't know this was a singy show. I
No.
would have come ready. If you are in an immigration situation, my closing point is you gotta have good legal advice.
Okay.
You have to have a good team behind you.
Right.
If you're gonna go the cheap route, you're going to F yourself over. You really are.
You can
Okay.
say fuck, we curse on this.
Okay,
Yeah,
fuck
the
you,
law
you're gonna fuck
situation.
yourself over.
Yes.
Like just
Oh yeah, some of these notarios aren't cheap, bro. I don't think
That's
cheap is
true.
the problem.
yeah, but
I don't
some of
think
these
cheap is the
notarios
problem.
can mess you up so
for
hard
sure.
that
They're
it's
not lawyers, they're not licensed to practice.
right. And
They
If
have no
they-
responsibility when shit goes sideways. You can't go file a bar complaint against them. You know, like it doesn't happen.
and unlicensed practice of law, the Florida bar can go up and down 8th Street and still not have enough defense.
There's a
You
million.
know, there's a million of them.
But I like
So-
what you said about patience, though, and I'm sorry, but I don't want you to let this go.
No,
It-
you have to have patience.
I actually very much agree with that because sometimes, because our practice changes so frequently, sometimes the best advice you can give, and I'm sure you will agree, is either do nothing
Wait it out.
or wait it out.
Wait it out.
Or let's file something.
Don't get arrested.
Your hearing is in fucking 2027. I have no idea what's going to happen between now and 2027. Maybe Trump will be president. Maybe Biden will be president. Maybe fucking Kamala will be president for all we fucking know. I don't know. But between now and 2027, the only thing I can tell you in immigration law is it will change 4 times over before we get to 2027.
I can't be president because I'm not a born citizen, so I'm good. You know, like,
now we know you're not Cuban
But
either.
the
Yeah.
point is that sometimes the best advice
Is patience.
is patience.
Patience is a good thing in
that's,
immigration.
That's really hard though, because you tell that to clients and nobody wants to be told that. Nobody wants to be told, oh, my best advice is let it ride for 4 years.
So, like,
and
you're
you're like, what the
okay.
fuck? I want to get my shit together.
'Cause you're
And
not
I'm like, I
physically
get that,
deported.
but that's not the best advice.
as long as
you don't get
listen,
arrested.
No,
Because then you could be physically
no.
deported.
Let me clarify. Patience is throughout your immigration journey, right? Even if you're physically deported. Even if you're physically
But you mean
deported.
physically deported? You're back in fucking
Wherever
Malaga,
it
my
is.
friend.
get you back.
We can get you back. So there,
How are we
but
getting
that's
you
what I'm
back?
saying.
back all the time.
Listen.
My
You
mind
can-
is blown right
Well,
now.
but that's what I'm saying. Immigration is a game of patience.
Wait, how we
which
get you back?
there's ways to get you
Is that
back.
another
There are
podcast?
waivers.
There's
We didn't
another
even talk
podcast.
about waivers today. We'll
We
talk
didn't
about
even
waivers
go
today.
there, but we can get you back.
There's so much.
And if you have patience, your day will come. That one day you're gonna have that green card in your hand, and one day you're gonna be a citizen and have that naturalization, and all you're gonna have left from immigration is a story to tell, which is the best part.
And that is a very hopeful way
I was
to
like,
end
this
up.
is a very idealistic
I love it.
Pollyanna ending if
It's
I've
true
heard
though,
one.
because it's true. We wait it out. Like you wait. The strategy in immigration is always to wait it out. Like if you're a TPS recipient, temporary protected status, or you're a DACA recipient on DACA, that's a temporary status. It's renewable. Just keep renewing it until shit hits the fan and something else comes your way. Because
Yeah.
it will. Something
It
else
will.
will come your way.
It will.
I don't know if it's going to be on this president or the next president or the other president. It might be tomorrow or it might be in 20 years. I don't know, but it will change. Because if there's the one constant in immigration law is that it's not constant. It's constantly changing.
And in the meantime, we hope you find love.
And in that, we wish love to
everybody.
everybody. You know, Jerry Springer. If you ever watch Jerry Springer,
What
Jerry
is
Springer,
that?
he used to end his show with the same, which I always thought was hilarious, because they beat the shit out of each other, and then he'd end with the same tagline at the end of every show, which is "Take care of yourself and each other." You know?
Oh, wow. You need a line like that for this show. For sure. For sure.
But anyways, Juju, thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
coming today.
I'll be coming back again, I'm sure.
I'm sure, because Leslie needs to learn about all kinds of shit
What is
over
that
there.
steak face?
Because
There's so much Leslie has left to learn. So
there's
I
a
know.
lot to learn in
I love this
immigration.
topic because we've had other guests that could talk her talk, but I think you're the first guest that could talk my talk.
Oh.
Ah.
It's a competition.
I
I
like
like
hear
it.
about TPS next time or
Oh,
whatever the
we
fuck
talked
that
TPS.
is.
We didn't even talk about Venezuelans. We didn't even talk about Venezuelans.
We didn't even talk
Next
about
time.
how parole and TPS has changed.
Oh yeah.
What? I'll leave you
TPS.
guessing.
Yeah.
That's 1102. I don't know.
11:02.
I just learned parole. So.
All right, and with that, this has been Lasha You Should Know. Thank you for watching and listening, and we will see you again next week.